Hey everybody, Brian Zane here, and welcome to my final classic pay-per-view review for 2025. What a fun year it has been for the channel doing these classic reviews this year, focusing a lot on WCW, I will admit. Before the year is up, I did want to cover one classic Survivor Series on this, the 20-year anniversary of the show. Let's look back in honor of me, wearing the red and the blue and the lighting this week. Let's embrace the spirit of brand supremacy as Raw and Smackdown go head-to-head at the 2005 Survivor Series from November 27th at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan, which, by the way, hosted the episode of Raw where Dusty Rhodes was the guest host, which I recently covered on the channel. Go check out my guest host Raw playlist. Anyway, this show was nominated by Sam Adelaide on patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. The big notable thing about this show, besides it being the first one to incorporate the Raw versus Smackdown brand warfare aspect of it, it is the first pay-per-view to take place after the passing of Eddie Guerrero. He passed away a week and a half before this show due to heart failure. His last match was on Smackdown just days before he died. It was a qualifying matchup to be on Team Smackdown where he beat Mr. Kennedy due to his lying, cheating, stealing ways. And then, around this time, the World Heavyweight Champion Batista was working through a legit back injury. And so the scuttlebutt was, the following week on SmackDown, Batista was going to defend the belt against Eddie and Randy Orton. And it really felt at the time that what was going to happen was Eddie was going to turn heel on Batista, write him off, win the championship, and kind of be the new, be a bad guy again, be a champion again. But sadly, what happened. He passed away in his hotel room at the age of 38, and that devastated me because I was a huge Eddie fan. The story of Eddie and his comeback and his rise to being the champion was so poetic and was such a wonderful story, that can only really happen in a world like professional wrestling. And so it was especially tragic after him reaching that pinnacle, after hitting rock bottom, for him to pass away how he did. It was very tragic. I mean, it was crazy to see how it was just, business as usual. After the passing of Eddie, they did the week of tribute shows, and they had the 1 week left of build overseas before, going back and doing Survivor Series. That has to be so tough, for your colleague to die on the road, and then you have just keep on going, keep on moving. I just can't imagine what the other, wrestlers and staff in WWE had to go through during that time. It sounds absolutely brutal. The opening hype package talks about survival. It's the instinct that drives us. It's in our blood. The need to fight for what we hold dear. Pride, respect, domination for our lives. Like, damn, okay, slow down a little bit. It's not that serious. You do realize that, a member of your roster literally died a week or two ago, right? Tonight, these men will all stand in the rain and look really cool. Also, The Undertaker's coming back, so buckle up. 15,000 folks in the Joe Louis Arena. This show got 400,000 pay-per-view buys, up big from 325K last year. And like I said, not only did I just see a show in the Joe Louis Arena, that episode of Raw, but this venue also hosted two previous Survivor Series in 91 and 99. Jonathan Coachman, Jerry Lawler, and the new kid Joey Styles are going to be calling the action for Raw. Jerry Lawler casually slipping in a line about banging a flight attendant.
It's time to return your flight attendants to their upright position and fasten your seatbelt.
But yeah, Styles, the voice of ECW, he's relatively new to the WWE commentary game because for the last several months he was working behind the scenes, writing for the website. He was used in small doses. He showed up for, the first ECW One Night Stand. He called the action at Taboo Tuesday the previous month, and he is there on a week-by-week basis, essentially, filling in for Jim Ross, who has stepped down for a bit due to health issues, and he's taken to it pretty well. Obviously, there's a lot of acclamation. It's not the same organization at all as what he was doing in ECW, working with very different people. But I think for the most part, Styles really holds his own. Then you have Hugo Savinovich and Carlos Cabrera on the Spanish channel, Michael Cole and Taz representing SmackDown. Your opening contest, the first in a best-of-7 series for the U.S. Championship as Booker T takes on Chris Benoit. Benoit originally won the belt back at SummerSlam, but then Booker won it in controversial fashion, like he turned on his his good friend with the help of his wife Sharmell, screwing Benoit to win the belt for himself. Then we had a rematch with a double pin last week on SmackDown that resulted in the title being held up. This is a throwback to the WCW days, and they even go so far as to reference it, because this was apparently Booker and Benoit pitched this idea to WWE. They did the same thing over the television championship many years earlier, and that was a series that, really legitimized Booker T as a singles competitor. It really raised his stock. It raised the stock of the television championship. So, it seems like a kind of a fun thing for them to run it back here. But it's also really weird for them to invoke WCW in a way that's very just kind of matter of fact and neutral, and that there's not like that ick factor of like, oh, the alliance, oh, the invasion, that WCW. Like, they're just now at a point where they feel they can kind of talk about WCW in a somewhat positive way in some regards. Starting out with a lot of sizing up, we get some standoffs here. Benoit holds the ropes open for Booker at one point. Booker fights back with a side slam, gets several minutes of heat on his opponent. We get this big side kick to the mush. Cole and Taz spend a lot of time in this match, like gently ribbing each other and kind of like giving each other jokes. Matter of fact, like Taz in particular is just really on one on this show. I don't know what's going on here, but he really has his dander up, especially, near the main event. Stay tuned for that. But there's a great exchange where Taz is like, I'm not a loser, Cole, I'm wearing sunglasses. And Cole goes, yeah, well, the coach is wearing sunglasses. And Taz just goes, okay, thanks. The crowd really gets behind Benoit as he fights out of the camel clutch. He starts to fight back, but Booker keeps cutting him off. Benoit goes to the corner, gets distracted by Sharmell. He fights Booker down to the mat, goes for the diving headbutt, but Booker moves. Booker with the roll-up, feet on the ropes, Sharmell with the assist. Booker wins the first match of the series. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. This is a great match to open the show with, and when you're Benoit and Booker T, and you've already wrestled so many times before historically, and you're in the middle of another, like what's going to be a pretty long series, it's going to go the full 7 matches here, it's tough to tell a different story every time, and they managed to do that so far, especially with Sharmell getting in the mix and whatnot, as she's becoming more of a character. But these two have a great chemistry. They showed it once before, and they're showing you again here. Backstage, Eric Bischoff gets ready for his match with Teddy Long. Mr. McMahon walks up and wishes him luck, and Bischoff says he's going to get the trifecta tonight. He'll wipe the floor with Long, Team Raw will decimate Team SmackDown, and he says he's going to make history by basically outdoing the Montreal Screwjob. He says, oh, it's so 90s, and now I'm going to get everyone to chant, you screwed Cena, you screwed Cena. Like, why does he want to be known as this notoriously corrupt official or executive in the company? I don't understand that motivation, but he's doing the "You Screwed Cena" chant, and then in comes the champ himself, John Cena, representing the Chain Gang, and he walks up to him and he goes, Bischoff screws guys, not my thing, but good luck to you. And then Bischoff walks off. Oh no! And then as we're about to have this interaction with Cena and McMahon, I just realize, oh no, this is what's happening next. Oh, the logos on the background. I forgot about them. Oh no, it's happening. It's happening.
Keep it up.
I could not believe it. Suddenly, I was transported back into, a college dorm room and seeing that pixelated, potato quality version of this scene playing over and over on my computer. I could not believe this. What a strange individual Vince McMahon is for him to think that this was, hey, it's going to get a good laugh if I just, drop the N-bomb on pay-per-view. And who's going to tell him no? God bless Booker T. He gets a big win on pay-per-view and then walks right into a racism. That's 50-50 booking for you. Wrestling is the only place that something like this could happen and nothing comes of it. Vince didn't get in trouble for this. Of course he didn't, because he runs the company and he runs the culture. And it's so funny to listen to Bruce Pritchard on his podcast years ago basically excusing it. Well, Vince, he's going to come up with some ideas and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this was not gonna get over. And then years later, WWE had to issue a statement basically, because in the fallout of the the Hulk Hogan sex tape drama and whatnot, then people brought up like, hey, isn't this like something you all said, like the owner said on pay-per-view? And the statement was just like, clearly this is just an outlandish and satirical skit, not reflecting real people. It's scripted television shows. Like, okay, what's the satire? What is it satirizing? Oh, the crazy old racist white guys in media that run companies like the one that's in this company? What? Man, own that shit is all I'm saying. Don't give me that bullshit. Intrapromotional warfare for the WWE Women's Championship as Trish Stratus defends against Melina. Last week, Melina had the other 2/3 of M&M abduct Trish from ringside during a match on Raw, holding her hostage and challenging her to a match. Surely, there had to be a better way to get a title match than kidnapping another human being, yes? But the real interesting wrinkle during this time is we are seeing the dawn of a great character in WWE, Mickie James. She recently debuted on the main roster as Trish's biggest fan only a few weeks ago, really. And so she is, deeply ingrained into Trish's world and her orbit now. And boy, they're going to make some real interesting television in the months to come. Joey Styles and Taz are on the call for this one in kind of an interpromotional commentary deal. And you would think, that given their ECW history and whatnot, that these guys would be somewhat cordial with each other, but nope, Taz is just on his ass all match.
I'm just saying, on paper, Melina, pretty new to being a wrestler. On paper now.
No, you opened your mouth, you can't bet. What paper? Where is this paper, people? On paper? What paper?
Trish wastes no time getting to work at the onset, even dives onto all 3 members of M&M on the outside. Melina cuts Trish off with some strikes to the back in the corner. Melina with this huge kick to Trish, then she just goes outside to get into it with Mickie, which gives Styles an opportunity to yell, "Catfight! Catfight!" In the ring, M&M are looking to hit the snapshot on Trish, but oops, the ref catches them and ejects them. Melina keeps up the aggression, bending Trish backwards in a submission. The champ fights back. She does the Matrix thing, but Melina has it scouted. Trish hits her head scissors and even a spine buster. They're fighting on the apron, and Mickie pulls Trish out of the way of an attack, which gives her an opening. She hits the bulldog, jumping off the second rope. Doesn't look great, but that's the finish, and Trish retains the title. I give it 2.5 stars out of 5. I thought it was a pretty good match. These two worked really hard, and I wish that there was a better build for this. I wish it didn't feel so quickly put upon and so absurdly gained, this title match. It did add another wrinkle to the Mickie James story, how far she's willing to go to help Trish out. And yeah, it's so funny to hear the bickering with Joey Styles and Taz on this one. And after the match is over, they're like, well, I hope to never work with you again, anytime soon. I'll see another 10 years or whatever. Oh boy, 2006 is going to be real kind to them. Last man standing. Former BFFs do battle as Triple H takes on the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. So the H-Man came back from his recent time off, took a few months away after his program with Batista over the World Championship, comes back, and meanwhile, while he's been gone, Flair's been kind of doing his own thing. He recently won the Intercontinental Championship, and then after Triple H comes back, he immediately turns on Flair, and he goes, "When you won the Intercontinental title, Rick, you settled for second best." They fought at Taboo Tuesday in a steel cage match that Flair actually won to retain the Intercontinental title. But the H-Man's like, "Have I mentioned that no one truly beats me because I'm the game?" So now they must fight in a last man standing match, and Triple H is on a mission to kill Old Yeller and put down the guy that he once loved and respected. They've been showing how vicious he's been lately with his beatdowns on Raw against guys like Viscera and Val Venus. Oh, you show him, game. They show a brutal hype package for it, but I laughed at the end because the last thing you hear is Coach saying, "It's going to be nasty, 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 nasty."
It's gonna be nasty.
So Flair is still the champion, by the way, but the belt is not on the line, which kind of feels like a red flag as to how this match is going to go. So they start fighting on the ramp. Flair's still in his robe, doesn't have time to get out of that yet. H grabs a chair, but Flair's got a kendo stick and gets to whacking. Multiple references to referee Mickey Henson by Styles on commentary for this matchup, which just feels weird. It's just Mickey J to me. Fighting on the outside, Flair takes a backdrop on the floor, followed up with a suplex. More back and forth scrapping. By the way, I love that someone from Buffalo Wild Wings in Grand Rapids is getting some love in sign form. Triple H produces a screwdriver and gets to digging and gigging. Flair's a bloody mess, but we already saw him gig in front of the camera earlier, but nevertheless, that is hard to watch. We get Chekhov's Spanish announce table set up on the outside. Flair taking a spine buster on the floor. Good Lord. Trips gets on the mic and goes, "Stay down, Rick, or I'm gonna put you down for good. Stay down, stay down. Ah, my balls, my beautiful balls." A minute later, Trips is setting up the other announce table, and Coach is like, "Get it ready for him, get it ready for him." That made me laugh. Pedigree attempt on one table, counter with a backdrop through the other. Jesus, look at Triple H's head just clip the table on the way down. H barely avoids the 10 count. Back in the ring, more bloody backy-forthy. H grabs a chair, looks to swing, but stops himself for a moment. We get this pedigree attempt on the chair, but Flair goes for the balls again and dinks the game. Flair with many leg and ball attacks with the ring post. Flair even bites Triple H in the leg, dinking it with a chair. The figure four is locked in with the rope assist. H is tapping, but that does not matter in Last Man Standing. Triple H is able to get up in time. He grabs some steel steps and whops Flair in the face with them. He goes for it again, but it backfires and we have a double down. Both men are getting up. Pedigree to Flair, but Flair barely gets up in time, so H-Man just gives him another one. Flair's getting up still, even gives him the single deuce, defiant to the last. A third pedigree, Flair still somehow getting up. Where's he getting this from? But H grabs his all reliable sledgy and hits Flair with it. That finally does the trick, and Triple H wins this brutal Last Man Standing matchup, and they show a replay of the sledgehammer attack, and it is an unfortunate angle. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars out of 5. I thought it was a very physical match, and you could tell these two really wanted to put on a show, but I do think this match went a little bit long. And as a matter of fact, it actually goes a few minutes longer than the main event, the Survivor Series matchup. And I think, at certain points, it just felt like they were kind of running out of ideas for things to do. But I did like the story that went into it and went through it. I thought, obviously, they did a great job, making it very brutal and violent. I'm just glad Flair and Triple H could trade wins. That Flair kid, he really needed the rub working with the game. And also, again, it sours me when a mid-card title is not on the line when they're going up against somebody higher on the card, because that alone just kind of means it doesn't mean anything. It really devalues it. Tell me what you're trying to say without saying it. Welcome to the Instant Access Room. Oh wow, this has never been done before. You can hear from the winners and the losers of the match. We're backstage in the Smackdown locker room, and Randy Orton is throwing Batista under the bus for getting hurt. JBL compares Batista to General Custer and shouts a lot.
He is a weakling. He's dumber than a box of rocks. Imagine him like General Custer. Where all these Indians come from? A malignant case of stupidity.
Orton wants to assert himself as team captain, but Batista shows up behind him. Orton and JBL immediately change their tune. Bat says as world champion, he should be the leader, and JBL protests but backs down once Batista gets in his face, and Orton begrudgingly accepts. You think you know him, it's promo time with the Money in the Bank winner Edge. We see the Rated R superstar with his main squeeze, Lita, by his side, but right now Edge is seemingly a man without a home, because during the build for this show for Brand Supremacy, Edge made it very clear he didn't give a damn about the brand war, didn't give a damn about Raw and whatnot, and so Bischoff said, okay, well, you can go F off on SmackDown for a bit until you've learned your lesson, more or less. So he's just not really in the mix for this show, and so he comes out here for a promo. He says starting very soon, they're going to debut his own talk show, The Cutting Edge, which, ooh, okay, that's some nice foreshadowing, because The Cutting Edge will be a nice interview show in the years to come. But he says no fluff, no palm trees, no TV screens. I feel those last two taking shots at Carlito's Cabana and the highlight reel. But in particular, I think they actually retired the Cabana pretty recently. Carlito was doing a promo to impress Bischoff, and he's like, after this, no more Cabana, which is great. Offering to do less work to show how much you are dedicated to Raw. And he says he's gonna shoot from the hip and cut straight to the bone. It sounds like Sami Zayn pitching the electric chair segment, honestly. But Edge, they point out, hey, there's a local celebrity in our midst. It's the DH for the Detroit Tigers, Dimitri Young, which gets this big pop. He's sitting in the crowd. And so he goes, if Dimitri Young was on my show, I'd have some questions like, how does it feel to be on a team that has no chance in hell of winning the World Series? And the reaction that Young has, he's like, what'd you say? He's getting all into it, and he's selling it so well. And then Edge follows up by saying, is it due to a lack of talent or a lack of steroids? And I'm like, okay, I get the joke because of the baseball culture, but like, my guy, Eddie Guerrero literally just died. And I know they probably don't know officially what caused him to die, but making a steroid joke, I don't know if it's the best taste. He also said that pro baseball is full of crybabies on amphetamines, which is crazy to say. Also, as this is going on, I'm noticing, is that the Rizzler sitting next to Young? Is he a time traveler or something? Edge, of course, is the king of the local sports references. See the stuff he did with, Christian and Kurt Angle 5 years earlier from this. But he talks about how, the Tigers suck, how the Pistons choked in the finals last year, and how the Detroit Lions, they also suck a lot. Then Lita's like, I think baseball player dude wants to say something, and Edge calls him, okay, let's talk to Mark Henry, Dimitri Young. I'm like, wow, between this and Vince dropping the N-word, big day for racists. And so Dimitri Young says, I hit balls, but you don't have any balls. And he talks about how all the different championships Detroit teams have won over the years, points out all the banners for the Red Wings in this very building. And he says, where's your world championship? And Edge is like, oh, well, screw you, man, I'm out of here. And that was it. That was the whole segment. Edge got to rag on Detroit, and then he took one shot from Dimitri Young, and he's like, I'm out of here. Well, that was certainly filler. It certainly went a long way in having the crowd further hate Edge. And hey, speaking of which, do you know what WWE really wants the crowd to do right around this time? They want them to boo Kurt Angle. Well, they don't want them to boo Kurt Angle so much as they want them to stop booing John Cena. But that is the problem that we have here as we go to our next match for the WWE Championship. John Cena defends against Kurt Angle with his special handpicked referee Daivari as the special guest referee. Kurt Angle, he's a bad man. He is evil. He's in cahoots with Eric Bischoff. He's so offended at the fans chanting "You suck" to his entrance theme that now he has got Bischoff to censor the audience. So when you, the home viewer, are watching, they censor the "You suck." So you just keep hearing beep, beep every couple seconds during his entrance. They really make you want to hate him and be annoyed at his presence. And to top it all off and make him even more hated, they put Daivari as his special handpicked referee. Oh, can you believe it? One half of the unbelievable heat magnets known as Hassan and Daivari. And you know what? I did feel bad for Sean Daivari after the whole controversy with Muhammad Hassan and Great American Bash. That whole character being written off, that wasn't his fault, him suffering from that booking loss. And so him coming back, this does feel, hey, it's good to see him in a prominent spot like this, but it definitely feels like, hey, we're going to put the foreigner with this guy to make him extra booed because we're going to do anything we can to keep you from booing our champion, John Cena. Because, man, this is when the Super Cena, this is when the anti-Cena sentiment is really starting to get at its strongest because they keep putting Cena in these positions where he is getting kind of outclassed, getting kind of outworked by the more established veterans, and it's so obvious that he is the golden goose, he is the golden child, and so, the fans can see through it, and they're starting to get sick of it. It's not like it was a year and a half ago when there was a lot of organic, natural support for him in this character, because now that he's a babyface, he's abandoned some of those things that made him edgy and cool, and he's winning a lot in really, exceedingly silly circumstances. This feels like a really big, how many odds can we stack against this guy and get you to cheer him? And the hardest thing is, when you strip away all the different gimmicks to make Kurt so hated, if you strip away the evil, crooked referee and the censoring of the "You Suck" and the working with Eric Bischoff. His whole thing is, I am a much better wrestler than you, John Cena, and I am going to embarrass you in that ring and become the new champion because I'm a better wrestler than you. Wow, what an asshole! Daivari coming out to one of the greatest themes of all time, one of the best interrupting themes in history, the Muhammad Hassan theme. I don't know, but it feels like they're really hiding the crowd noise during Angle's entrance. It seems to me the crowd is going to be partisan more toward Angle here, and so they probably want to mute any of that. But then also there are the beeps that come in with the "You Suck" chants, and so you really can't hear what's going on. And then you've got the announcers trying to talk over it, but the censor is actually beeping them out, so they don't realize they have to lay out for the beeps at first, which leads to a funny moment on commentary.
What's it like to be this close to greatness? What's it like this? Well, now they're censoring me.
And you see Kurt giving Daivari this Laurel and Hardy handshake before the match begins. There is a Cena chant before his music plays, but his pop is mixed at best. I would say that it is more cheers than boos here, but it's not by much. I would probably say at best it's like 65-35. Daivari already raising Kurt's hand with the title. It's like they don't even hide the bias. It's hilarious. The crowd is raucous all match. We are getting dueling chants fairly consistently for the first couple of minutes, but then the crowd like really shifts here. Like I said, when he first comes out, it's a bit of a mixed reaction, but by the end, it's just like everything he does gets booed and everything Angle does gets cheered, and it's just kind of the opposite of the story they are trying to tell. Cena goes for his first cover and Daivari just stands totally still to the crowd's delight. Kurt gets the ankle lock on Cena. Daivari kicks Cena's hand off the ropes to a huge pop. Cena fights out of the ankle lock and then just slaps Daivari in the face twice. Daivari wants to DQ Cena, but Angle stops him from doing it. We get a referee bump, and then Daivari, of course, he's got that debuff. He falls out. It is like the easiest easing into a warm bath bump I've ever seen, and that fool lays out for 8.5 minutes. Okay, I'm not going to repeat that over and over again, but it's worth pointing out. So in comes a new referee. Angle continues to lay into the champion as a massive "Cena sucks" chant overtakes the Joe. "Let's go Angle" chant as he works the chin lock. Cena fights out of it, and we get this double down. Cena makes his comeback, and I forgot to mention, Coach is very heel in this show, in this matchup. He's very pro Bischoff, so he's just ragging on Cena all the time. As he's making his comeback, does Cena, Coach is getting increasingly flustered, and so Cena hits the 5-knuckle shuffle, and Coach just goes, "5-knuckle waffle! That's silly, it's stupid!" Like, that's the best you have? 5-knuckle waffle? Cena sets up for the FU, Angle gets up, just walks over, and lays into the referee with a clothesline. We get a low blow by Angle, in comes a third referee as Angle hits his slam, Cena kicks out. They barely pull off a superplex off the top. Kurt hits his patented moonsault onto nothing, an FU attempt, but Kurt grabs the referee to save himself, then he uppercuts him. Daivari is somehow still down, and Kurt wakes him up after, well, you know how long. Suddenly, out comes Smackdown ref Charles Robinson, and while that happens, Cena hits Daivari with a DDT. Nice knowing ya. Robin comes to the ring, Angle walks into an FU, Cena pins, Robinson makes the cover and wins. I give it 3.5 stars out of 5. I liked the action in it, and overall I liked the story, as crazy as it got by the end. Cena is looking good here. He's not the same clunky guy that he was at the beginning of the year. I don't think this storyline did him any favors. Like, did he get better as a worker? Probably, but I think this one in particular really exposed him to the portion of the audience that already did not like him, and it seemed that WWE was so blatant in trying to direct a narrative one way and almost punishing the fans for going in the opposite direction by just kind of pouring it on more. And so I think that was why the anti-Cena sentiment got so strong around this time, because, you know, the fans felt like they were being fed something that didn't resonate with them anymore, that didn't feel real. For as much as Cena went on about real, recognize real during this time, a lot of fans didn't buy that. A lot of the older fans in particular, you know, obviously it worked and they kept working for Cena, but you know, it was just, this was a hard one to get through if you were a fan of anyone but Cena at the time. There's a promo for the new Jacob the Snake-Ub DVD Cub, and then we have more interpromotional pride on the line. GM versus GM as Eric Bischoff takes on Theodore Long, accompanied by Palmer Cannon from the network. Speaking of bringing things back from WCW, here are a pair of guys who certainly made their names in that company before coming over to WWE years later. I'm not sure if Bischoff and Long ever had any on-camera clashes in WCW, but I know that, Long represented Chris Jericho against Nick Patrick, who was with the NWO, so maybe there was some interaction there. I don't know. But anyway, the match begins. Long avoids a Bischoff attack, does a little strut. We get a lot of walking, a lot of talking. Long is just mocking Bischoff now, doing the crane kick pose. Palmer Cannon gets on the apron like a dope, which allows Bischoff to just beat the hell out of Teddy for the longest time. 2 referees can't contain this man? And wait a minute, why does the match have 2 referees? I can't tell if the crowd's chanting bullshit or boring, but it's certainly both of those things. Eric with the sleeper, Long with the classic sleeper arms. Cannon gets back on the apron, allowing Long to take his shoe off and bop Bischoff with it. Bischoff comes back with a throat chop, then suddenly it's Boogeyman time apparently. And in case that wasn't obvious, then Cole just starts shouting, "The Boogeyman's coming to get us! The Boogeyman's coming to get us! The Boogeyman's coming to get us!" He sends the referees up the ramp to intercept him, I guess, but the Boogeyman is actually right behind him in the ring. Where are the referees now? Why don't they see this? Boogeyman hits a pump handle slam on Bischoff as the crowd does a light TNA chant. Long covers Bischoff and wins. -3 stars out of 5. I hated every single minute of this matchup except for the times when Teddy Long did some dancing. And you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't think JBL bullied Palmer Cannon enough. We then get these shots in the back of the Raw and SmackDown locker rooms cheering on their respective teams as they make their way to the ring. Look at all these guys and gals getting paid to show up and do practically nothing all night. Main event time, a traditional 5-on-5 Survivor Series matchup. And for the first time, this is all about brand supremacy. They had all those years to figure out what it meant, and they still came up with nothing. But the beginning of this storyline starts out with a show or a special they did on Raw called WWE Homecoming, and it was supposed to feature a SmackDown exhibition matchup, but Bischoff was a jerk to those guys and turned the lights off on their match. So at Taboo Tuesday, some SmackDown guys beat up Carlito and Chris Masters, costing them the tag team titles. Things get chippy between the brands. They are kind of invading each other. Meanwhile, Vince McMahon is sick of Eric Bischoff's shit and tells him to do a better job on Raw, so Bischoff proposes an interpromotional war at Survivor Series. And like I mentioned at the top of the video, obviously Eddie Guerrero's passing leaves a huge impact, not just in the build to this matchup and the storyline in general, and of course the greater company culture and whatnot, but also for me as a fan, it really just dampened the mood for a build like this. Like, who really cares about brand supremacy, when there's, human life to think about? And so, obviously, like, it didn't make me hate wrestling. It just made everything kind of a bummer for a little while. So that is the reason why the memories of this era are so muddled for me. But also, it just kind of takes the oomph out of a match like this. And, I get why they don't want to harp on him or mention him a lot in this show, but they really don't mention him on air at all on this pay-per-view until Rey Mysterio makes his entrance, for the matchup, and we get an Eddie chant when he comes out. Look at the size of the Big Show's only taped wrist. He's got that in solidarity with his tag team partner, one half of the tag team champions in Kane. I do find it weird that, like, they're in the same team as Carlito and Chris Masters, who they just fought on pay-per-view. And, speaking of strange bedfellows, they have opened up the mics for all 5 members of commentary for this matchup. You've got Cole and Lawler and Coachman and Taz and Joey Styles, and the bickering is non-stop for this because, of course, it's Raw and SmackDown bickering over supremacy. Think about 4 heel Michael Coles, and then there's poor Joey Styles, the newbie, who Taz relentlessly shits on during this matchup, and Styles is going to try and maintain his composure and just keep charging forward.
Your referees
couldn't see an elephant in a phone booth. You're trying to tell me there's a
Coach, hey, King, did you get that out of that joke book you've been using for 20 years?
Yeah.
King, did you like squeeze Joey Styles so he can't talk? Is he over there or what?
I would say the Raw team needs to single out Batista, World Heavyweight Champion, or not. The man is injured, and that's who I would try to eliminate.
Who the hell asked you and who are you? Is that Styles? Hey, Coach, you know what? Kiss my ass.
We start off with Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels. Chris Masters tags in for Raw eventually, and man, Masters is unrecognizable compared to what he looks like when he comes back in 2009. It's crazy. And goddamn, pal, look at the vascularity in the ring with Lashley and Masters. They should have formed a team called Mashley. Carlito's pulled into the ring by force and slammed by Lashley, or as Taz says, "Aw, c'est la vie." Like, what? What a weird call for a slam. Oh, that's life in French. Lashley is all over HBK and Carlito, goes to hit the Dominator on Michaels, but Kane just reaches in and chokeslams Lashley, and that's all it takes for Shawn to eliminate Lashley. Jesus, way to make him look like a stud here. Masters shows the strength against Mysterio. Then we get some Kane versus Rey action. That's always fun to watch. Lots of chaos in the ring. Mysterio hits the 619 on Kane, who then walks right into a Batista spinebuster. Kane is out. What's the point of having two referees if nobody is there to stop Show and Kane from hitting a double chokeslam on Batista? Batista's now eliminated. By the way, I forgot to point out, Batista was working with that back injury. That was legit. They tried to cover up for it on the Raw before in England, where off camera he is chokeslammed by Big Show and Kane through a car windshield, but that's the way to explain why he's a bit more limited in this matchup. The Big Show's throwing Rey around like a rag doll. That's always crazy to see. And then, like, everyone gets their shit on Big Show for a while. We get clothesline from hell, 619, RKO, another clothesline from hell, but the Big Show is still moving. Time to tag in Rey again, who hits the big sit on Show to eliminate the big guy. JBL hits the fallaway slam on a HBK on the outside, so Shawn's out for a long time, and I mean a long time here. He's going to be out for several minutes. Like, what the hell? You had Ric Flair taking bumps on the floor willy-nilly. He was fine, but Daivari and HBK take one little bumpski on the floor and it kills him? Rey and Carlito work a hold for a long time, which gives the announcers more time to argue. Gibbles with a nice clothesline from hell to eliminate Carlito. Yet another 619 on Masters, drops a dime to eliminate Chris. Smackdown is up now 3-1 as Shawn Michaels still is selling the fallaway slam. We get like the 8th 619 of the match. Rey goes for the springboard nothing but walks right into Sweet Chin Music, and Rey is out. A kick to JBL. He is out. We are suddenly right back to where we began with Michaels and Orton. Shawn with a dive onto Orton on the outside. Big "We Want Taker" chant by the crowd. Shawn's hitting his big moves, the flying elbow drop. JBL on the outside still. He grabs a chair, swing and a miss. Michaels lays him out, but Orton hits his KO on Michaels and pins to win. For the third year in a row, Orton has won the Survivor Series matchup and is once again sole survivor, and SmackDown wins the war. Look at the locker room running out to celebrate. We've got Cowboy Bob Orton, we got Paul Burchill, we got Funaki, we've got the Dicks. Everyone is celebrating in the ring when suddenly we hear the Undertaker's gong, and this is a great moment here because Orton hears it. He's the first one to react, and he's like, put me down, but everyone's still like, yeah, celebrating. Like the Dicks are still carrying him like, yeah, woohoo, like totally oblivious. It would have been so funny if they just kept holding him up for the longest time while the Undertaker is like making his way down. So we get the Druids singing. They come out carrying a casket as Orton makes a bunch of faces. They prop the casket up and walk away. Suddenly we see lightning strike the casket, and that baby is on fire. Then after a few moments, bam, the Undertaker emerges from said casket. Very cool visual and a callback to how he was written off a couple of months ago, and he's got a beard now. Why didn't he keep that look for longer? So Taker enters the ring and just cleans house. He kicks ass. Everyone bumps for this guy except for Orton, who flees. Like Brian Kendrick takes like a 12-foot chokeslam bump. Regal takes a tombstone with his legs at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And then Taker does the eye thing and his pose. We get the lights and the show ends with a fierce stare down as Cole calls it the beginning of the end. I give it 4 stars out of 5. I hated Lashley's elimination, and I could not stand that the announcers would not shut the fuck up. But besides that, I thought this was a really good and well-executed Survivor Series matchup. Very reminiscent of the elimination match they had in 2003 when it was Michaels all on his own having a fight from behind again. Not nearly as bloody, but still very impressive. And, the ending with The Undertaker was a really cool way to close the show. It's not like it was a surprise. They were literally promoting the return of The Undertaker, and this was a good way to do it. This would lead to Taker and Orton's blow-off match, Hell in a Cell the next month at Armageddon, and that was specially known for, Cowboy Bob being in the match and bleeding all over everyone, and Bob Orton Jr. having hepatitis, and no one knew about it. Also after this, Eric Bischoff was fired as Raw GM in a very famous moment on the show. Somehow Batista continues to work through his injury, only to tear his tricep a couple of months later, and he is forced to give up the world title. My final grade for Survivor Series 2005 is a B-. There was only really one match on the show that was bad, and brother, it was bad. But besides that, I really enjoyed the other matches on this show. I thought the namesake, the Survivor Series match, was really well done. We had some other good tentpole matches. Survivor Series is traditionally not going to be one of the top shows of the year because it's really to help build things up for the Rumble and Mania after that. But the way they did set things up and the way they executed some stories on this show, I thought was very well done. But again, the whole brand split, brand competition, it's something that never really finds like a footing as far as like what it means and what it's for, but God bless them, they keep going with it anyway. But what did you think about this war between Raw and SmackDown and Survivor Series 05 in general? I want to hear what you think in the comment section below. Well, it's been a great year of classic pay-per-view reviews. I'm so excited to bring you the big overarching thread we have in store in 2026. 3 weeks from now, I begin the new thread where we look at the rest of TNA in 2006. You recall a couple of months ago, I covered Hard Justice, Bound for Glory. Well, in next year, in 2026, I want to complete the set. I don't want to wait forever like I did with WCW in 2000. I want to cover the rest of it on the 20th anniversary of all these shows. You will see the beginning and the end of the Sting-Jeff Jarrett feud. You will see the meteoric rise of other stars. You will see the rise of Senshi, of Paparazzi Productions. It's going to be a great time during a great period of time in TNA's history, and I cannot wait for you to join me on the journey. That begins in 3 weeks with Final Resolution 2006. But until then, I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.